Within the wilderness bordering the St. Elias Mountains in the Yukon, the natives of the region have told tales of gargantuan worm-like creatures with the ability to eat away entire forests. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series all things cryptids, and today we're going to look into the Guh, the Yukon giant worm. Serving as a close neighbor to Alaska, the Yukon of Canada is Canada's westernmost provinces, along with it having the smallest population, with about 46.7 thousand people calling it home. Most of the people who live here live in the sparse towns in the sole city of Whitehorse in the region, mainly due to the harsh nature of the north. Winter temperatures in this region are unrelenting, delving far into the negatives, with one brutal winter cold snap reaching negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Many First Nation peoples have called these beautiful yet brutal lands home, like the Southern Tutchone people, have found ways to survive for over thousands of years. Living near St. Elias Mountains, which stretch into British Columbia and into Alaska, they have seen many of the iconic animals of the Yukon. But along with these many animals, there is one creature that stands out from the rest. Now, you might have heard about the Alaskan bullworm, but just wait until you hear about his cousin, the Guh. Also known as the Yukon giant worm, the Guh is an enormous invertebrate, often described as resembling either a worm or a caterpillar, with a huge appetite. Guhs are dark in appearance and are roughly about the size of a bear, with some being said to be even larger. This would make them true giants, as the largest known worm, the giant Gippsland worm of Australia, reaches 3 feet in length, and the largest caterpillar, the hickory horned devil caterpillar of the eastern regions of the US, get to about half a foot long in length, both nowhere near the gargantuan size of the Guh. Guh is also just a really funny name. Guh? They've been sighted living within the hollowed out trees and in subterranean cave systems near glaciers. They're not made out as particularly hostile in nature, typically remaining hidden from sight, but despite this, they are quite destructive forces in their own right. If you know anything about caterpillars, you know that they munch on just about everything that they can, and the Guh takes this to the extreme, said to strip trees clean of leaves and leaving massive patches of forest barren and retreating back into the earth to avoid cold chills of the north. So far, it is unknown what the life cycle of a Guh looks like, but if this is their larval state, then we can only hope that their final form is peaceful and is not some giant death bug kaiju thing. We do not need Mothra up there, bro. The bears are enough. Now, information on the Guh and Guh sightings are quite limited, and most of the documentation on them comes from anthropologist Catherine McClellan during her survey of South Yukon. Over the years, the townspeople of Karmaks have reported sightings of large worm-like creatures and large patches of forest stripped clean of leaves, with the Guh being a primary suspect to the missing foliage. One person even claimed to have seen a Guh chilling out on a branch, resting after a meal. A shaman managed to witness 2 Guhs, described as black caterpillars as big as bears, feasting upon the forest. Later on, the shaman would witness 2 more Guhs, even larger in size, emerging from the earth. And the shaman had enough of that and managed to kill the pair with magic bullets, so go ahead and take that as you will. The Guh has been a mystery to the people of the southern Yukon for quite some time, leaving many to wonder just what these leaf munchers are. And here on Cryptid Corner, the wildest explanations come first. Could the Guh be a surviving Anthropolura that hid away in the hollowed earth after all the years? After all, it is a close match. Yeah, absolutely not, as the giant bugs of the Carboniferous period only got that big due to the insane oxygen levels of the time. You see, bugs breathe in oxygen through vents in their skin, going directly to their organs, and the more oxygen that there is in the air, the larger the maximum size a bug can reach. And since the oxygen levels begin to return to the levels closer of today during the end of the Carboniferous, The size of these bugs went down rapidly, as the conditions at the time could not support such large creatures. I've also seen some people all mixed up with this to kind of explain how animals in the past, like dinosaurs and giant mammals, were so big. It's literally that just affects bugs. Like, I mean, the dinosaurs didn't even come to be until after these bugs passed, and back then the bugs, in the age of the dinosaurs, bugs were just bug sized. So, yeah. Not only would this cancel out the theory of the Guh being an ancient millipede, but it also puts the likelihood of it being a giant worm or a caterpillar or a centipede in general into question. And even if one were to exist, I would be more comfortable with it being in, like, a rainforest, but being in the Yukon of all places adds another level of unlikelihood. The Yukon is home to several bugs, but their activity tends to peak in the summer and fades once it begins to end, with them seeking places to wait out the winter, like a warm hole in the ground. Perhaps the Guh could have been some kind of reptilian or amphibian all along, instead of a caterpillar, having a more caterpillar-like gait. Many tales from Europe describe reptilian, or rather dragon-like creatures coming out of the ground and wreaking havoc on commoners. Maybe the giant caterpillars are actually vegan dragons, but at the same time, maybe not. I personally feel that the Guh is a creature isn't really a real thing, but it's more of a metaphor to explain natural phenomenon or as a form of symbolism to brutality of the climate or from humans. Starting this to explain the patches of green forest vanishing rapidly, avalanches, rock slides, landslides, erosion, flooding, and microbursts are all phenomenon that occur in this region. Remember, these reports did originate around mountains where these phenomena are super common. Permafrost, diseases, and fungal infections can also explain the devoured appearance that trees can have, and not to mention the bugs that waste no time springing into action to eat as much as they can before the cold returns. Perhaps the Guh was a creature made to reflect on the hunger of these little dudes, or nature as a whole, or perhaps it symbolizes something a bit deeper, like humans. For example, firewood collection is usually done in certain areas in the woods, which can give the appearance of a partially devoured forest. Overlogging and mining could also be more negative interpretations of the Guh. After all, it is a big, hungry worm, and that is a pretty damn good, metaphor for the destruction of forests and all of that. Our greed is one big, fat caterpillar just munching down forests. The Guh is a truly interesting cryptid, having a really bizarre description, especially for its location. It seems that the Guh was a creature created to fill in the gaps of understanding, or perhaps as a metaphor for human harvesting, as many cryptids tend to be. Cryptids, after all, are a reflection of the cultures that create them during a certain time span. Either way, with eyewitness testimony and the largely uninhabited and unexplored nature of the Yukon, perhaps these hard to believe giant bugs do remain alive and remain hidden, devouring the trees and retreating into the earth before anyone can get a glimpse of them. And that's gonna do it for the Guh. Way shorter of a video than I've been putting out as of late, but there wasn't much on this cryptid, and I felt I kind of wanted to do a cryptid that, like a quicker video like this. Not to disrespect the Guh, very fascinating creature. Do I think it's real? Absolutely not. But big ass worm eating trees, that is pretty cool. Next week will be a pretty big week. Of course, it's Thanksgiving week, so I started my channel, well, not the channel in general, but I started putting out like legit videos around this time. I remember uploading the martial arts iceberg on Thanksgiving, so that video does mean a lot. Currently, I think I'm going to put out 2 videos that correlate with each other, right? It's kind of a two-parter. That's the idea that just popped into my mind. and it's going to be one that I have been building up for a long ass time. So like you can kind of think of like the setting the stage section as kind of like its own video for it. Um, the OGs of the channel probably know which cryptid it's gonna be, you know. I've been building up a large cryptid video in the background for a while, and hey, I figured I'd put it out around then, because, just, kind of a soft 1 year anniversary. It's not exactly a 1 year, but, and I was putting out those little Pokemon videos beforehand. But anyways, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.